Alright, match number 1. We're on the draw. You can go turn 1, Garden, turn 2, Invader, turn 3, Young Wolf, Bone Splitter equip, turn 4, Vampire. This is a very good hand. If we draw more cheap creatures, then the Vampire gets better. If we draw a Rancor, we can go on the beatdown plan. Delver of Secrets, okay. Delver fails to flip, which is nice. And they pass the turn holding up in Counterspell. So what do we want to get countered? Our Brindle Shoat or our Nest Invader? Just go with Young Wolf Bone Splitter, but I don't want to go with the 2/1 drops because that's weak to Spell Stutter Sprite. And a 2-drop is only weak to Counterspell. I think I'll go with Bloodthorn Vampire. If I get one of these countered, it makes my Bloodthorn Vampire worse. But if I get the Bloodthorn Vampire countered, it doesn't really make my default beatdown plan worse. Additionally, I don't have a Rite of Consumption or a Critical Mass of creatures yet, so... Oh wow, Deprive. They were willing to return a land to their hand to counter that. That's not nearly as bad as Counterspell for us so early in the game. Delver fails to flip a second time. And they pass the turn. Well, I would like to go 2-drop plus 1-drop this turn, but once again, I don't want to play into Spell Stutter if I don't have to. I think I'll go with Nest Invader. And if that gets countered, I'll probably play Young Wolf. Okay, it didn't get countered, which means I'm just going to play a tap land and go. Because I don't want to play the Spell Stutter Sprite if I don't have to. I could also have played an untapped land and then sacrifice my Eldrazi Spawn to play Brindle Shoat as well. But I'd rather save that sacrifice trigger for later. Third fail to flip on their Delver. They play another Delver and pass. Alright, here I'm going to bait out the Spell Stutter by playing Bone Splitter. Because I think they'll try to counter it. I don't want to lose my Bone Splitter, but I think Young Wolf might actually even be more important. Alright, so Carrion Feeder comes out. And actually I should have attacked first. I'm going to attack with this Nest Invader, happy to trade it with any 2 creatures. Now I play the Brindle Shoat. And then I get to play Young Wolf next turn. Means I could make the Carrion Feeder an 8/8 if I wanted to. If I wasn't afraid of a bounce spell. Alright, Spell Stutter coming in. Let's see if a Ninja picks it up. Yes. Alright, getting hit by a Ninja. Spell Stutter's going back to hand. And we draw a Rancor. Well, let's go ahead and play the Young Wolf and hope they Spell Stutter this so that the Rancor resolves. Alright, they oblige us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can make this an 8/6 Trampler right now. Which I wouldn't do, because they could just untap and have a bounce spell and I would lose. But it is fun to think about. Alright, I'm going to put this on the Brindle Shoat. Give myself another relevant attacker. Bash for 6. I'm going to plan on chump blocking the Ninja with the plant token and then sacrificing it to the Carrion Feeder. Alright, they're willing to trade here. This is great. Now if they flip a Delver, that means they only get 1 3/2 flyer instead of multiple. Help me win the damage race. Stick this on my Carrion Feeder to make it even more of a threat. Pass the turn. No flip on the Delver yet again. 3 cards in hand for our opponent. And they're doing the ninja trick again. Spell Stutter's going to go back to their hand. And they draw a card. Third Delver of Secrets this game. And we top deck a land. Alright, well, we need to be aggressive here. Alright, they're gonna block with one thing. I would really like to keep this carrion feeder alive. So I'm going to sacrifice a plant. This means they're going to be able to get in for 2 damage with one of their ninjas, because I can only chump block one of them with the Eldrazi spawn, and they're going to get to draw a card off of it, but I think that's worth it if I get to keep my carrion feeder around and deal 3 damage that turn. So that goes there. Take you. We fall down to 13. They have a spell stutter and 3 unknowns in hand. Hardcast and ninja. Alright, spell stutter and 2 unknowns in hand. Alright, well that's lethal if they don't... Well, never mind, they have the spell stutter. I was going to say if they don't have a bounce spell for this. Because we could put this up to 9 points worth of trample, and they only have 3 toughness to block with. But if I play this, it's going to get spell stuttered. So I guess I would prefer to play this after combat, just in case they flash in the spell stutter after I attack, just as a blocker. And hopefully they don't have a bounce spell. If they can bounce our carrion feeder with Vapor Snag or Snap, then we're just going to lose. Okay, and they concede. And we go to sideboarding. Alright, so we're going to bring in our Duress and our Scattershot Archer against Counterspell and Deprive. And Scattershot Archer against Spellstutter Sprite and Fairy Miscreant. And 2 Scattershot Archers, if we're lucky enough to draw 2 of them, kill a Delver. Taking out the more expensive cards. And I'm going to cut some Unearth, since they don't have ground creatures that often. My creatures are less likely to trade and die. And Brindle's Shoat's kind of slow. We'll cut one of those as well. I'm thinking actually about taking out a Hunger of the Howlpacker too, and bringing back in an Unearth or a Brindle Shoat. If our creatures don't die that often on our own, that means we may have to sacrifice our own creature to trigger Hunger. And then if they bounce our creature, we really get blown out. I think I'll take one of my Unearths. Have a split of 2 Unearth, 2 Hunger. I'm not sure that's correct. I imagine if it's incorrect, that Unearth is better. And I should put in another Unearth or 2 over these. But these also help us win faster in the cases where they don't have bounce spells. So I'm okay with leaving some in. Alright, we're going to keep this hand. Turn 1 Blister Pod, turn 2 Shoat, turn 3 Duress, plus something else. Alright, and they play a turn 1 Delver again. Going to lead off with Blister Pod. It's a good blocker, can start attacking. Alright, start out by attacking here. And I can go Swamp, Shoat, if I'm trying to get around Spell Stutter. I think the best thing to do, though, is Swamp Duress. Do it early enough in the game that I'm sure to hit something. If they Spell Stutter, they Spell Stutter. And then I get to resolve something else. So Young Wolf or Blister Pod. I think I'll go with Young Wolf right now. Alright, they ponder. They choose not to shuffle with Ponder, which means that Delver of Secrets is going to flip on their next turn, most likely. Alright, I can only play 1 spell this turn. I really don't want to get Scattershot countered, but I do want to try to make it resolve. I'll attack first. Alright, there's a Scattershot. Let's see if it works. It resolves. And Scattershot gets snagged. Back to hand. Counterspell is revealed to flip the Delver. We have Counterspell and 2 unknowns in hand. Here comes a Ninja. Counterspell, Spell Stutter in hand, and 2 unknowns. And we're losing the damage race. Alright, so Blister Pod first. Try to get them to go ahead and use their Spell Stutter, which they decide not to. Now the question is, do I even play this Scatter Shot? And I think I actually do. So that the Tragic Slip will be turned on their turn after I block. Everything is kind of matching up poorly against their cards this time around, and we have to keep on playing into Spell Stutter to keep up. And they're not going to let us block and trigger Morbid, unfortunately. I thought maybe they would offer that trade. So now they have a counter spell and a Spell Stutter in hand, and we're going to lose in 3 turns to this flyer. Alright, we'll play Bloodthrone Vampire, force them to counter this, otherwise we can enable Morbid ourselves. Alright, they counter it, we gain a life. Gives us 1 more turn against this Delver. We could be attacking with 1 thing here, but I just don't feel like it. I don't think it's necessary. I don't want to attack with 1 thing and then bounce another thing and then all of a sudden I can't. Alright, so do I chump block this? I'm at a pretty low life total. I feel like I don't. Just do it like this. Alright, they get in for 5, they draw their card. And now we have our Tragic Slip online. We'll try to take down this, which will get countered or Spell Stuttered. Probably Spell Stuttered. And then we need to top deck another Tragic Slip, maybe? Alright, Spell Stutter comes down. Oh, well, we're dead in the air, so we need to represent a removal spell, so let's not cast our Brindle Shoat. And see if they attack us. And they do. Alright, so that's it for us. I still don't want to take out all my Hunger of the Health packs. I think they're good for getting a quick win sometimes, but I'll bring in 1 more Unearth. It's nice because it kind of acts as additional copies of Scattershot Archer. And we'll submit. On the play for game 3. Alright, this is a slow hand. We only have 2 creatures and then 2 spells that don't really do anything to advance the board. I'm going to keep anyway. Lead with Jungle Hollow, and then turn 2 we can go Duress Blister Pod potentially. They mulligan to 6, put a card on bottom. Very Miscreant. I think I'll just use this opportunity while they're tapped out to resolve something bigger. And I'll Duress later. Duress is best used when they have a lot of mana open, and then you can force them to counterspell the Duress. Otherwise, you can just take the counterspell. Of course, the Spellstutter Sprite throws that all off, because then they get to counter your Duress, but we'll see if they have it. Alright, they have it. Now we can play Nest Invader if we want to sacrifice this spawn, or we could just play one of these spells. Let's start by attacking. And I think I'll play Carrion Feeder, County Garden, and then next turn I can play these 2, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things I could sacrifice to the Carrion Feeder. Then I get in for 8, then I sacrifice it to Rite of Consumption for another 8. And then I've almost won, assuming they have no bounce or blocks or counterspells, which is kind of a large assumption. Bottom and top with Preordained, they found 1 card they like. Both the fairies come in and whack us in the face. Have to imagine there's a counterspell coming here, so let's try to get them to counter the Blister Pod instead of a 2-drop. Alright. Now what do I want them to counter, if they have a counter spell? I'd probably rather they counter Nest Invader? Brindle shows 3/3 is a little bit better of an attacker. Alright, there's the counter spell. And I think I'm going to start sacrificing things. I want to win this damage race. Having this mana from the Eldrazi Scion would be nice. But I think I can do without that mana, and I just want to force them to bounce this or potentially lose the game. So let's see if they have a bounce spell. Spell Stutter comes in. Ninjutsu the Ninja. Spell Stutter back to hand. Alright, Duress is a good draw. Let's see what you got. If they just Spell Stutter, they're going to have to chump block most likely. Alright, they do Spell Stutter. Force them to use that. Alright, so now I have lethal if they don't block Carrion Feeder. And if they do block Carrion Feeder plus Eldrazi Scion, that's fine. If they block Carrion Feeder plus Nest Invader, that's fine. Is there any point to even attacking with the Eldrazi Scion? Yeah, I think there is, because it makes them less likely to block the Carrion Feeder if they have the Eldrazi Scion to trade with instead. Alright, that should be lethal, right? 5, 6. Yeah. Give me that. Unless they daze us. We haven't seen them play a daze in game 1 or 2, and not all Mono Blue Delver players play it. But if they have it right now, we lose the game. Alright. Going for it. No creatures are going to be left. No daze. Don't daze me. Don't daze me. Alright, we win the match. Very nice. Well, as bad as Duress is against Spellstutter Sprite, it still managed to be a good enough sideboard card. We take down match 1, and we are on to match 2.